Okay, AP Bio kids, we're going to perform this lab over protein testing. We are putting the following solutions. You'll notice this is the order of my test tubes. So you have this lab sheet. Test tube 1 is water, 2 is gelatin, 3 is skim milk, 4 whole milk. Test tube 5 is 2%, 6 is cashew milk, 7 bean solution, 8 potato, and 9 egg white. So I've already added them to the tubes. So I'm gonna let you guys note the color. This is before doing the burette test. So here, I'll put them up against here. So this is test tube 1. Okay, so you can note the color. This is test tube 2. This is test tube 3. Can you guys see that? Okay, test tube 4, right here. Test tube 5. Okay, test tube 6. Test tube 7. And I'll shake it because it's really supposed to be like that. There you go. That's the bean solution. Test tube 8. Test tube 9. There you go. And if you want to see them all compared to each other, I can go like this. Okay, you can see them like that. All right, so now I'm going to get ready to do the protein testing. Okay, so we're ready to get started. We are going to be using 2 chemicals today. One is NaOH, that's sodium hydroxide. The other one is copper sulfate, CuSO4. So when we add the NaOH, what this is, it's a very strong base. So when we add a very strong base, if any of these substances, like here's test tube number 1, if there are proteins present in any of the substances in the test tube, then what this strong base will do is it'll take them from their higher level structure, like let's say there's quaternary or tertiary or secondary level proteins, the conformation, we'll take those and break them down. So it'll break the bonds that would be between 2 or more polypeptide chains and take it from a quaternary to a tertiary, or then it could also take it from tertiary to secondary, etc. Well, once we do that, the second chemical, copper sulfate, what it will do is it will bond, okay, or stick to the peptide bonds that are left in between the amino acids. So if there is indeed protein in any of the substances in the test tubes, the copper sulfate will stain the proteins purple. So we're looking for some shade of purple in this violet, anything from a light violet to medium to dark. So on your lab paper right here, you'll notice the hypothesis. You put in this column, if you haven't done this, you need to do this before I do the lab, you need to put whether you believe any of these substances have protein. If they do, you're going to give it a plus, but the 1 plus means it's a minimal amount, the 2 plus is a medium amount, and the 3 plus is a heavy amount of protein. So we're going to base that off of how dark the purple or the violet colors are. So we're ready to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and add 10 drops of NaOH to each of the substances. Okay, so I've added 10 drops. So now what we're going to do is shake each of the test tubes, let the sodium hydroxide mix. Okay, we'll let that kind of mix up with all the substances. So if there are proteins right now, what's happening is the sodium hydroxide is denaturing those proteins. Denaturing means taking them from a complex conformation down to a simpler conformation. So we have to make sure that we, in fact, make contact with all of the substance. Okay, so we shake those up. Okay, so now we're ready to add 10 drops of the copper sulfate so that we can see that reaction. Okay, so I've added my 10 drops, but what we need to do is make sure that we shake these up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do that to all of them before I show you the color at the end, because we got to let these come in contact. Okay, so that's test tube 2. That's kind of magical, right? Here's test tube 3. Okay, here's 4. See what it looks like now. Okay, here's 5, but not stirred up. Okay, here's 6. 7. 8. And here's 9. Woo, look at that one. Okay, so I'm gonna span out a little bit so that you can see comparison. Okay, that's tubes 1 through 6. Can you see that? Because you kind of want to compare them to each other. And then here is 7, 8, and 9, but I'm gonna do a close-up with them on the white background. So I'm gonna shine my light like this so you guys can see up close and record observations. That's test tube number 1. Okay, so you can kind of see, there you go. You can see that color. Okay, test tube number 2. There you go. Maybe if we get it down here a little bit, let me see. It's kind of a glare. There you go, that's a better picture. Okay, here's 3. Oopsie, almost dropped it. Okay, you can see that, that's 3. Okay, here's 4, 5, and 6 compared to each other. Can you see that? Okay, here's 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, 9. So I'll kind of go back a little bit more so that you can see. There you go. That's a good view of the color. So that's 1 through 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay?